The Catholic Church is preparing for a major transition. Pope Francis's health and the rumors surrounding his resignation have fueled discussions about what the Church will look like in the future. This is not just about selecting a new pope. It is about the direction of the entire Church. Many believe that the next pope will not only continue the changes introduced by Francis, but will accelerate them. This has led to speculation that the Church may soon have a Francis II. The Vatican is known for its secrecy, but inside the sacred palaces of Rome, the atmosphere is tense. The end of Pope Francis's reign seems inevitable, whether due to illness or his own decision to step down. Behind closed doors, confidential meetings are taking place and negotiations for the future of the Church are already underway. The upcoming conclave will not be a simple election. It will be a defining moment that could lead to a complete transformation of the Church. Pope Francis has been one of the most controversial leaders in the history of the Church. His pontificate has introduced radical changes, moving the Church away from its traditional values. His focus has not been on preserving Church doctrine, but on adapting it to modern society. From the moment he became Pope, Francis distanced himself from his predecessors, using language that was often ambiguous and open to interpretation. This allowed him to challenge long-standing beliefs without openly opposing them. One of the key aspects of his leadership has been the emphasis on inclusivity. Under Francis, the Church has shifted from focusing on sin and redemption to promoting acceptance and social justice. This has led to criticism from those who believe the Church should remain a stronghold of tradition. His approach to governance has also changed. The synodal path, presented as a way to give a voice to different regions of the Church, has in reality decentralized doctrinal authority. Bishops and cardinals now express different views on crucial topics such as sexual ethics, priestly celibacy, the role of women in the Church, and even the nature of the Eucharist. Perhaps the most symbolic action of Francis's papacy was his attack on the traditional Latin Mass. The motu proprio Traditionis Custodes severely restricted the celebration of the traditional Mass, sending a clear message: the pre-Vatican II Church must be left in the past. This was not just an administrative decision. It was a declaration that the old ways of worship and tradition were no longer welcome in the new Church. But the most concerning aspect of Francis's leadership has been the increasing politicization of the Church. Issues such as climate change, migration, and social justice have taken center stage, sometimes overshadowing spiritual matters. Francis has often appeared more as a global political figure than as the spiritual leader of the Catholic Church. This has led to growing concern that the Church is being used as a tool to promote a broader global agenda, rather than focusing on its religious mission. As the Church prepares for the next conclave, the question is not just who will be the next pope, but whether he will continue this transformation or attempt to restore traditional values. The progressive cardinals understand that they have a historic opportunity to solidify the changes introduced by Francis. If Benedict XVI tried to slow down the post-Vatican II changes, Francis has accelerated them. Now the next pope could take this transformation even further. Among the leading candidates for the papacy, 3 names stand out. The first is Jean-Marc Aveline, the Archbishop of Marseille. He is seen as a strong supporter of a global church without borders. His commitment to interfaith dialogue, particularly with Islam, has made him a favorite among those who want a church that embraces all cultures without maintaining strong Catholic identity. If he becomes pope, the Church may become even more focused on inclusion at the expense of tradition. The second candidate is José Tolentino de Mendonça, a theologian who believes that truth is not absolute but can be adapted to fit the modern world. As the head of the Vatican's Department for Culture and Education, he has already begun reshaping Catholic thought. Under his leadership, doctrines once considered unchangeable could become open to debate. Dogma itself could be questioned, and the Church could become an institution where everything is fluid and adaptable. The third, and perhaps most talked about candidate, is Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. Known as the Asian Francis, he is seen as the perfect successor to continue the current path of the Church. As the former Archbishop of Manila and now head of the Vatican's evangelization office, Tagle embodies the globalist vision of the Church. If elected, he would not only continue Francis's reforms but could take them to an entirely new level. Many believe that under Tagle, the Church would fully embrace a modernist approach, leaving behind any connection to its historical roots. The upcoming conclave is shaping up to be one of the most crucial in modern Church history. The progressive cardinals are determined to ensure that Francis's successor will not only continue his work, but will take it even further. They know that if a traditionalist is elected, the reforms of Francis could be reversed. Therefore, they are preparing carefully to ensure that the next pope will be a Francis II in all respects. The preparations for the conclave are already underway. Behind the scenes, alliances are being formed and decisions are being made. By the time the cardinals enter the Sistine Chapel to vote, many of them will already know who they will support. The election of a pope is never left to chance, and this time, the stakes are higher than ever. If the progressive faction succeeds, the Catholic Church as we know it will undergo an even more profound transformation. Tradition will be further marginalized, and the Church will continue to move towards becoming a global institution, focused more on social issues than on spiritual matters. The election of a Francis II will mark the definitive end of the traditional Church and the beginning of a new era. The division within the Church is reaching a breaking point. On one side are those who want to preserve the teachings and traditions that have defined Catholicism for centuries. On the other side are those who believe the Church must evolve and adapt to modern society, even if it means changing fundamental doctrines. The outcome of this battle will determine the future of Catholicism. The next pope will not just be a leader, he will be a symbol of the Church's direction for decades to come. Will he be a defender of tradition or a radical reformer? Will he restore the Church's spiritual mission, or will he push it further into political activism? These are the questions that will be answered in the next conclave. As the Catholic Church stands at this crossroads, the faithful around the world watch and wait. The decision made in the Sistine Chapel will shape the Church's future. If a Francis II is elected, the transformation that began under the current pope will not only continue, but will be cemented as the new identity of Catholicism. The coming months will reveal whether the Church remains rooted in its past or embraces an entirely new vision for its future.